Hi, Chris Mc Loone here with Fire Apparatus and Emergency Equipment. Welcome to this episode of our podcast. Today, my guest is Jason Witmier. He is the Director of Education and Technology at Safe Fleet. And today we're going to be talking about a newly released product that I got a chance to see for the first time at FDIC. It's an FRC product and it's called ACE. So Jason, welcome again to the podcast here. Ace, could you just give me a real quick background on what it is,
Sure.
and just talk about the technology behind it?
Sure. So thanks for having me. ACE, what is ACE? ACE stands for Advanced Control Environment. And what that means is everyone wants to say automated because just naturally people want to say, oh, it's automation. Firefighters are afraid of automation. We as an industry are afraid of automation. Rightfully so. There have been problems over the years. So we titled this Advanced Control Environment, which means it's an advanced way to interact with the pump. We're going to talk about some of the features and benefits, but truly what it is it's a way to make the pump easier to interact with, a way to relate to our next generation of firefighters who have, we like to say they were brought up on the Nintendo age. So instead of pulling a handle on a pull handle on a pump panel, they'd rather have a little remote control in their hand. We get it. Our traditional firefighters might hate that technology, but a lot of them have adapted to it. One of the things that I want to say about it up front is a lot of people look at this and they go, oh, it's new technology. It just came out. I don't want to dive into anything new. FRC worked on this technology over a decade ago, and we actually showed it at FDIC on a demo rig 10 years ago, a different version of it in its infancy at that time. And it just didn't seem like the market was ready for it yet. So we kind of backed off on it. And now more people have started, other companies have started to come out with stuff similar. And we thought it's time to jump back in on this. Maybe the market's finally ready to accept this type of technology.
I think the way you described what the pump operator is doing and who this might be more relatable for were really key. And it's interacting with the pump. And I think it's very, very important to remember, especially as we're designing rigs today, who we are designing them for. And the up and coming pump operators right now interact with things differently than maybe you or I did as we were coming up as pump operators. And it's that interaction. To me, this is providing them with the type of interaction that they're accustomed to at this point.
Absolutely. And there's something to be said about that old school pump operator that likes to lean his leg on a hose, and he knows what he's got coming into the rig, and he can see other things going on. No one's saying that guy's wrong. No one's saying that guy goes away. But the next generation, they're not really picking that up. So we need to be ready to adapt to that.
I think I really do. I'm gonna use that. I might steal that from you a couple of times. That interacting with the pump. I really like that description. But besides what we just talked about in terms of this might be more relatable for those who interact with things differently. What are some of the other benefits of ACE that you were really talking up at FDIC this year?
So one of the things that we want to be clear up front, we're not looking to replace a pump operator. We don't feel that pump operator should get on scene, put a truck in park, throw it into pump gear, enable the system and walk away. That's not what this is designed to do. But we understand that in today's environment, the fire scene is very confusing. There's a lot going on. There's a lot more that we're asking our people to do. We're in a defensive posture a lot of times with traffic around us, with other things going on. So if we can make the pump operator's job a little simpler and allow him to help out in other areas, that's terrific. Him charging a line and jumping on a backup position on that line and going into a building, probably not the safest operation in the world. There's so many things to worry about outside. Where's the water coming from? Are we switching sources? What else is going to come up? Is there a second line I need to deploy? And let's face the facts. What's the safety factor out there today? Is it unheard of for someone to come up and try and steal our rig? Unfortunately, no. We need to be vigilant about that type of thing. So what ACE can do for a pump operator, some of the automation that's in there are simple things. Let's think about a typical scenario when you go on scene. So you get on scene, you get the truck and pump, they deploy, say, our 1 3/4 attack line. They go in, they start to make an interior attack. We're probably operating off of pump water at this point. Now someone establishes a supply from a hydrant. So we got to switch over to hydrant. ACE makes it very simple. You push and hold a button that says hydrant. When you've made the switch, the system prompts you. It says, okay, you've made the switch to hydrant mode. Where do you want to bring it in from? It can't read your mind. You've probably got multiple places on the rig where you can bring water in from. Let's say I'm going to bring it in from the officer side suction. One touch on a button, open the officer side suction. It's automatically going to open it slowly. So it's following NFPA. It's not giving us a water hammer. But now when the system detects there's water in the rig, everything's flowing, life is good, it's going to look in the background. What's the first thing that we should do if we're an experienced pump operator? Get that tank filled back up just in case I lose that water source. That's where ACE can take some of that off of the pump operator's hands. So now the system's looking and saying, okay, the tank was down to 30% capacity. Let's start filling it. But let's not just open our tank refill line fully, because then we're going to steal water from our attack line. So let's crack it a little bit. Now the tank gets full. What would happen a lot of times on scene? Pump operator's doing other things. He's not sitting there staring at that tank fill gauge. He starts to hear the splash. He starts to see water at his feet because it's overflowing. Day like today, where it's actually pretty nice outside, probably not a problem. Middle of winter, this might be an issue. I don't want all that water going underneath my tires and now icing up that scene. So what ACE is doing is it's looking at that tank fill and it's saying in a preset position that you get to choose. Let's say it's 95%. When I'm 95% full, I'm going to slowly shut that tank refill line off. Something happens, I lose the hydrant. I can quickly switch back to tank water. When I recover with the hydrant, the system's going to be monitoring that. It's going to see that I got the hydrant back, and it's going to slowly top that tank back off. What's really cool about it is if you show all these features to someone and they say, well, I don't want to top off until it's at 10%. That's a setting. Or I don't ever want to be lower than 75%. Like if I'm below 75% and I got a water source, I want to top it off. That's a setting you can set. How full it is, that's a setting. What percentage the valve opens, that's a setting. So it's all controllable through the operator.
Are there additional customizations that you can do beyond what you just mentioned? Sounds
Sure,
like this is really user dictated, I guess.
It is. And one of the neat things, so right now we may have a fire chief or a captain of an engine company sitting watching this going, I don't want every shift coming in and deciding how they want to set it. We can set password protections on levels. So it could be that the chief of that company decides what those levels are going to be, or he gives his chief engineer the right to make that change. There are several settings, things like the tank refill, cooling the pump, for example. We can monitor the temperature inside the pump. You can set it so that it will automatically, if it starts to overheat, crack tank to pump and tank fill and do that recirc like we would do manually today. We can set the percentages that we're going to open those at. Priming assist. Typically, when you go into a draft mode and you're going to prime that pump, the old school method would say put it in RPM mode and get it up to 1,000 RPMs. The system can automatically do that. When you push the button and say that you want to go into draft mode, it can automatically raise your RPMs to 1,000, fire the primer. When it detects there's water in the pump, shut the primer down. So now the pump operator has a lot less on his plate at that point that he can focus on some other things. One of the examples I like to use is you charge that line as the pump operator and the guys inside are yelling, we're not getting water. And the pump operator's looking and he's saying, well, let's say I wanted a pump discharge pressure of 100 PSI. I got 100 PSI on there. What's the problem? Well, now he needs to run around the front of the truck and look because maybe they kinked the line when they were going in the front door. That's where the pump operator could quickly adjust that. With a system like ACE, Let's go back to your traditional method. You've got the handle pulled the whole way open. Now he unkinks that and it shoots a bunch of pressure through the line. Maybe it's too much. He's a good pump operator. He's going to go back to the panel and make that adjustment. But with a system like ACE monitoring it the whole time, as soon as he removes that kink, it's watching where you wanted that pressure set at. And it's going to maintain it.
Is the pressure governor part of ACE as well, or is that still a separate unit on the panel?
So it is a separate unit on the panel. So it's kind of my answer to your question would be yes and yes. It is a separate unit on the panel. We kept the pressure governor separate. We've got a great technology with our Pump Boss Max. So that's what we're using. People love the knurled knob. So they want that feel in that knob. And there's actually some neat technology in that knob that a lot of people don't realize. That is a proportional control. So what that means is if I walk up to that hand knob for our pump pressure governor and I spin it fast, I'm going to increase my RPMs rapidly. If I turn it slow, I'm going to increase my RPMs slowly. Most control knobs would work 1-to-1. So 3 clicks would raise you a certain PSI. And it doesn't matter if I do those 3 clicks rapidly or slowly. With the FRC technology, we're monitoring how fast those clicks occur. So we didn't want to take that away. So that stayed on its own. But the governor now talks to the system. Another great, I love to talk by examples. So let's look at another scenario. Pressure governors have been around now for 30, 40 years. It's probably only the last 20 to 25 years that everyone has accepted them because there were people nervous when it first came out. One of the problems with a pressure governor is I get on scene, I set my pressure governor, I have my discharge running. Now they bring water into me, and let's say I get a hot hydrant. Let's say I'm running a 200-foot attack line with a 50 PSI nozzle. So I don't need that much pressure. And if I've got good hose, there's not that much friction loss. Maybe my pump discharge pressure is around 100 PSI. The hydrant coming in is 150. I got a problem. With the old school setup, I would roll that relief valve back and set it. The pressure governor is going to try and roll back the RPMs. Once it hits idle, there's nothing more that pressure governor could do. And now our pump operator would have to get involved and he'd have to gate that discharge down. With ACE, the pressure governor and the controls are talking to each other. So at some point, the governor would be saying to the ACE system, I'm at idle. I can't do anything else to control your pressure. Now the ACE system would start to crack that valve back and slowly close that valve. Eventually, ACE is going to get to a certain point on that valve and go, well, I don't want to close this anymore. I'm only open 20%. I'm going to start losing flow pretty soon, but I still need to shed pressure. Now it would start to gate back the intake valve. So everything's talking and working in unison to help control the system.
You were mentioning how, pressure governors, that it wasn't until fairly recently that more people started to accept them because a lot of people were afraid of them. I was one of them. I'm not going to lie. But we also, when you think about something like this and all the different things you just described, there's some programming involved or just at least being able to navigate the different screens. It's almost like setting up, your TV these days or, it's not, I don't think I'd ever want to compare anything to setting up a VCR because those were just those were terrible. I don't think there was ever a good programming for a VCR, but there is a lot to know. And depending on the department, you might just have your guy who just knows the system inside and out just because, or it might be an EVT or somebody like that. So what on the repair side or on the diagnostic side, or even on you mentioned you could password control certain things. What are some of the things that EVTs are going to need to know? Are they going to need to develop some new skills? And also whenever we talk about something like this, just think of your phone. Every so often there's a software upgrade, something needs to be changed. How often do you think they'll need to do a firmware or a software update? So I'm sorry, there were 2 questions in there: new skills and how often might they need to update some things?
Okay, so let's start by talking about a little bit of customization of the discharges themselves. So that's very simple. That's done right through the screen. And again, it can be password protected because let's take your front bumper line. So if you want to call it a front bumper line, but the next guy wants to call it a jump line, we might not want each shift changing the name of that discharge. At the time of manufacture, you're going to tell the OEM, here's how I want it set up. I want the front bumper line to be, I don't know, pick a color, white, because I've got white hose on that line. And I want it, the preset on the valve to open halfway. And I want it called front bumper discharge. Down the road, the hose breaks. You get a new hose. There would be no way to fix that on a traditional pump panel. You'd have to put a piece of tape over it or something. With this system, you could go into the system, you could change it to a different name if you wanted to. Maybe the department made a shift and they want to call it something else. You could change the color of it. You could change the preset position. Again, we would determine with the end user what they want everyone to have access to and what they want only certain individuals to have access to. But that's all done just through touching a screen. Now, when you get into something like the firmware, the software, or let's say the password level, they want to change it. They want a different password level. That's pretty simple. That's usually involving hooking up a USB drive or a computer to it. We do have Wi-Fi capability with it, so we can dial into it basically. It's a USB-C connection on it, so a lot of times people will run that USB-C connector out somewhere for maintenance to easily be able to just plug in and do their work on it. With today's technology, it's not something a mechanic's going to be doing all that often, making changes like that. What's really neat is with the technology today, they can get in something like Microsoft Teams, hook their laptop up to it, have our techs dial right in with them, walk them through it, or even take control and do it for them. So that makes that part of it very simple. Now, I will say when multiplexing came onto the scene, a lot of electricians out there went, oh, I have no idea how to troubleshoot this now. This is all different. And we all as an industry said, well, it's easier because you can troubleshoot through the screen. Sure, you can troubleshoot through the screen, but when something actually breaks, you better know how to service multiplexing. What's really cool about the ACE system is a lot of the technology that the actual plumbers, the mechanics, and the electricians are going to be using, similar stuff to what they've been using all along. If anyone's ever serviced an Elkhart electric valve, the valve itself is the same old valve that's been used for 100 years now. Nothing's changed. It's a ball with a hole in it that opens and closes. Electronics just change how we do it. So instead of a push-pull rod pulling against that valve, there's a gear on top with a motor. That motor has a wire going to it. Normally that wire would go to the pump panel to an individual controller. Now instead, that wire goes to what we call a gateway. So it's a CAN-based network, and it's one wire going around that goes from valve to valve and then to the network. Everything's carried through that network. That makes it very simple. If someone wants to change a valve out, they have a bad seat in a valve. That's what they've done for the last 50 years. A motor goes bad. It's 4 bolts. They pop the motor off. They put the new motor on. No programming done ahead of time on our part. They put it into the system. The system will immediately say something's new here. And then the maintenance, all the training would be involved with maintenance is going in and calibrating, hitting a button and saying, there's a new valve here. Let's calibrate it. It'll calibrate itself. It'll open up, look for a magnet, go full close, look for a magnet, and then set itself. The really neat thing about ACE, we typically do 2 screens. So the screens themselves have the ability, there's an SD card in there that can hold videos, manuals like PDFs. So if they wanted to know how to calibrate something, they could have one screen up doing the calibration. On the other screen, they could pull up a video that we made that shows them, here's how you calibrate a valve. So right there at the truck, they're watching how to do it as they're physically performing it.
Is there any offloading of data? Well, I guess, does ACE collect any data in terms, I'm sure pump hours and things like that, but does it do more than that where, I don't know, you could almost just, kind of go back and review the pump operations from a scene or something like that, where maybe something occurred and you want to try to go back to see where the trigger was. Is there anything like that?
So we're recording critical data all the time, things like pump temperature, things like pressures, things like that. The neat part about it is it's all scalable. So we can easily expand. And if someone said, I'd really love to see it record this, we could do that. One of the things that we pitched to, it was actually the military, they do a daily checklist on the rig. And we said, well, we could easily put that daily checklist right into the system. So the operator walks up, he hits a button, the checklist comes up. As he's going around the rig, he keeps checking buttons. I did this, I did this. And then when he's all done, he says, save that form. It now saves it to the SD card, and someone can just hook up and grab it. It's a CSV file, so an Excel file. They can grab the whole Excel file, and now they have a report on when the checklist was done, who did it, what time, everything's date and time stamped. So it's really cool for record keeping like that.
Now, I got a chance to see this operating at FDIC. It was part of the outside exhibits there. But for those who haven't had a chance to see it yet, how can people see or demo ACE?
So the first step, we have a very robust group of videos that we have on our website. Mm-hmm. We're adding all of that to our Rig Recon website. I think you and I have talked about Rig Recon before. It's mm-hmm. our educational platform for Safe Fleet, where we load our podcasts and do all of our comparison videos and things like that. So we'll have videos up there. We'll have videos on our FRC website as well. We're always willing to hop on and do a webinar with someone and walk them through it and get them the basics. But then when someone's really ready to go to the next step, they want to put hands on it. We're in the fire service, so they want to see it. We do have a demo rig that we built that was at FDIC. It'll be at some of the other shows coming up the rest of the year. And that demo rig, we can bring that to your department. We can set up to flow water. We can take it to a fire school if that's where you want to do it. If you have something right at your station where you want to do it, we can do it there, walk you through, let you see everything. That truck's equipped with pretty much everything that Safe Fleet makes and sells, including our nozzles and our deck gun and all the different parts. It also has our multiplex system on it. So it's really cool to get that out to someone and do a demo. The way to get that done would be just reach out through our website, through the Contact Us, and then they'll sort through, when you fill out the form, they'll sort through where you're at, find the regional for you, so you don't have to look through a list and say what regional covers what area, and then we'll get it scheduled. I will say we only have one right now, so there's a big country out there to cover. In fact, we'll cover all of North America with it. But so it might take some time to get you on the list, but we certainly can get it around and show it to you. You want to see it in action if you're going to invest in this type of product, for sure.
Well, Jason, my thanks to you for sitting down with me today. Before I let you go, I always ask my guests, do you have any general comments, either just about ACE or about this type of technology and its future in the fire service?
Sure. I mean, I have a couple comments. One is, don't be afraid. I know technology at times has been difficult in our industry. This technology has been tested thoroughly before it's been brought to market. Don't be afraid of it. Don't think it's going to replace you. Its job is, we are not looking to reduce your crew. We are looking to make your crew safer and more functional. So we're just trying to add to what your crew can do and give them more capabilities. And don't be afraid of the fact that of electronics in general. Electric valves, we could do a whole podcast on electric valves. Electric valves have come so far from when they first were introduced. When they first were introduced, water leaked into the motor and burned up the circuits. The motors weren't sized. No one thought about the fact that, he's going to tack this thing up to 1,500 RPMs. He's going to have water hammering against the back of the valve and try and open it. It tore gears up. It burned motors up. That's all been changed. When you get into the Elkhart product, our Elkhart electric valves have a 10-year warranty on them. So me sitting here telling you how great they are, that's one thing. I've had a chief say to me, can you guarantee me at 2 a.m. that thing's going to open? Chief, nothing's a guarantee. But can I say that I'm really, really confident it will? Absolutely. And can I tell you that if it doesn't, we're going to have your back and we're going to take care of it going forward? Absolutely. The other question we get asked a lot, Chris, is, can I override an electric valve? And The answer to that, the simple salesman's answer is absolutely. You can override any electric valve. Right where the motor is, there's a little gear that sticks out a shaft, and you can get on there and override it. The real answer is, where's that valve at? I mean, sure, if that valve's in the middle of the pump house with a whole bunch of other stuff around it, and now I have to crawl inside and lean around a corner to try and get on it, maybe I can override it at that point. So consider that in your design. Think about how you want to lay that out. And if you come down to it and you say, I love this technology, but I want to back up. I want to make sure I have one discharge that can be manual just in case. We can do that. Our system is scalable. So we could do a manual valve in addition to all those electronic controls.
All right, perfect. Well, again, Jason, thank you very much for sitting down with me today. If there are topics that we haven't hit on that you'd like us to, please let us know. You can contact me at chris.mcloone@clarionevents.com. If there are other things you want to know about from Safely, let me know. I'll get in touch with Jason, and we can certainly work something out. If there are other podcasts that you'd like to see in our archives, they are all archived at www.fireapparatusmagazine.com/podcast. So again, this has been Chris Mc Loone with Fire Apparatus and Emergency Equipment. Have a good one and stay safe. Thanks again, Jason.
Thanks, Chris.